All right, welcome back to our Q&A video submission series. Tim and I were just talking before we started shooting about what constitutes spider guard. Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have like a nomenclature that is organized like judo does. So the way that I'm going to define spider guard and how to beat spider guard is anytime someone is holding one or two of your sleeves or your lapel and then using that as a point of counter pressure with their feet either on the hips or on the biceps. Okay, so we're not going to be going over like De La Riva guard hooks. We're not going to be going over lasso type of stuff on the arms. We're just going to be going with simpler foot and hand positions. So let's get started. I'm not going to be teaching this in the typical way where I have step-by-step operationalized technique. This is going to be much more concept based. So we're going to get into our first spider guard position. He's going to have my right sleeve, he's going to have a cross collar grip, and then his foot is going to be on my bicep. This is like a fairly common, simple cross collar guard, cross collar spider guard. I'm going to tell you about some of the common mistakes people make here. First, they remain hinged at the hip and they fight with their arms, okay? So I'm not using my hip in a very efficient way, and I'm also not going to beat his legs and his hips just by using my arms. So you're going to see this theme repeat itself again and again throughout these next two techniques, which is I want to get a more neutral spine. So I'm actually going to squat down really low, and I'm going to use that to push my hip forward. Okay. Now, as I push my hip forward, it might be hard for you to see, but I'm going to take the knee on my right side. I'm going to drive it into the back of his leg. So I'm going to spin him real quick. This knee here, if it remains on the outside, I won't be able to put any pressure on his hip. Okay. But if I squat really low, I center that knee on his hamstring, and then I push my hip forward and I posture. What that does is it kills his left hip. And now it makes it much easier for me to either circle this arm out or I can just take it out the top. And I've already got a really good same side knee drive here to start my passing sequence. And so I've really broken down his guard. Last thing I want to do here, in addition to kicking his foot out to the side and pinning his hip, is come up and break this grip. Now I've got full posture and full passing options. So in our second spider guard position, my opponent has both of my sleeves, a foot on my hip, and then this leg is stretching out, controlling my right arm. Okay? So remember the common themes. I'm not going to try to beat his legs and his hips using my arms, and I'm not going to fight hinged at my lower back. So I'm going to do almost the exact same thing I did to start the first technique, which is I'm going to squat down, I'm going to push my hip forward, and I'm going to give myself a little better posture, and it's also going to slack his grips more. He's got less tension against me now. I use that to acquire two grips in the pants, but again, I'm not going to try to beat his spider guard with my arms. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to step to the side where he's got his leg stretched against my biceps. So I sidestep and shuffle, and then I immediately pop my hip forward. Boom. I get to this position. Now once I get here, I can start bullfighting his legs to the side. And if you can't see, I've slid my left knee through into a leg drag position. Now, one of the things Tim just asked me is what should I do given that he's got these grips on me still? This is very easy to beat. The grip on his right side, my left side, not very useful to him at all. But if he was somehow able to straighten this one all the way across my body, he could work his way up to like a technical standing base. So as soon as I get here, if I feel pressure from this grip, I'm just gonna circle my hand through and then punch it to the outside. Now it's not very useful to him anymore. So our last spider guard position is going to be two sleeve grips and then 2 feet on the biceps. Now, I don't think a lot of people play here for a long time. Like if you're on the bottom, you don't tend to stay with both feet on the biceps, but it is like a transitional position from one side to the other or to different guards. So anytime I feel somebody do this, it can feel like you're locked down again if you are fighting with your arms and hinged at the hip. This can be really sticky, okay? Anytime you feel this position happen, both feet on the biceps, we're gonna get pant grips just like we did before. I'm gonna take 2 aggressive steps in. So I'm actually thinking about stepping 1, 2, almost like past hip depth to the point where you're like, well, wouldn't the person just grab your ankles and double ankle sweep you? Not in this case, because I'm going to immediately use my hip power to defeat his feet on my biceps. He's gonna lose that surface. So step, step, pop, okay? My head goes back, I get a big chest, my hips come forward, and he loses that contact on my biceps. This is a skill you have to develop. Being able to sit in this position, toes only on the mat, knees pinching in tight, and hip aggressively pushing forward. It's kind of like doing the limbo, okay? Now from this position, I can slide my hands up very easily, thumbs to the back of the ankles. This is not hard for me to do, even given the grips that he has. And I can start to push his feet overhead, okay? And once you get to this position, the passes open up quite a bit. You've got some crude bullfighter passes here. You can drive a knee up the middle and guide the legs to the side for more leg drag variations. But the thing I'm really trying to get across in this instructional is never fighting the guard with your arms, never fighting hinged at your back, okay? All of these passes, what we've done is we've taken steps to lower our base and push our hips forward and use those hips to beat the legs. So one more time, we step, step, and pop those hips forward. I slide my hands to the back of his feet, and then I can start to press forward, and I can initiate a variety of passes from here.